Before we get into the story, it would be helpful to learn a bit more about the Aztecs. The Aztecs were Native American people who lived in Mesoamerica. They ruled the Aztec Empire from the 14th century to the 16th century.
The Aztecs forged an empire over much of the central Mexican highlands, but they were not always very powerful. We will be telling the story of how they found their capital city, Tenochtitlan.
Before the Tenochtitlan, the Aztec people were wandering nomads looking for a home. It was the 14th century, and the Aztecs were newcomers to what now is central Mexico.
As extremely religious people, they prayed to their god Huitzilopochtli for a place to find home. In return, he directed them to build a city where they saw an eagle perched on a cactus eating a snake.
For hundreds of years, they searched for a place with a specific scene. Then, in 1325, they found their to-be heaven, Tenochtitlan.
Now no one wanted this area. It was full of swampy lands, and the Olmecs and Toltecs had been there for hundreds of years. So what did they do? You guessed it. They prayed to their god, Huitzilopochtli.
With clearer heads, they immediately began building in the middle of the swampy valley. With so many people, they had to extend their land, so they created chinampas. These were small artificial islands that were pressed together.
Instead of carts on cement roads, the Aztecs used canoes to travel across the waterways between the chinampas. They used causeways to connect their artificial lands to the mainland.
And when they were done, it was heaven. They grew strict policies on how people should clean up after themselves. And even after a sacrifice was made or blood was dropped on the floor, they would clean it up immediately, leaving everything better than they found it.
Tenochtitlan grew over time, and when it was all done, it was a compact 5 square miles big.
Imagine that! It was so much cleaner than our world now.
It rose and fell, but the finding and creation of the great capital city of the Aztecs will never be forgotten.